Welcome back to another episode of Obliterated Companion. You guys, I'm really excited about today's interview. Got a lot of questions. Previous work and Obliterated, obviously, is I'm joined by Alyson Gorske. How you doing, Alyson?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Jumping at the bit to speak to you. I like to kick off kind of what has the reception been like for you from friends and family since the show's come out?
Um, it's been largely incredibly positive. Like my friends loved it. Everyone seems to have binged it. So it's like, which is nice, but also like, everyone watched it all in one night or two nights. And so I got all the feedback very quickly, which is good. Which was but everyone's just so excited for me and loves the show. And I think my favorite thing is that like everyone from my granny, even though she deemed a lot of it very inappropriate, to my best friends, like of all just people of all different ages and backgrounds and stuff that love me, but are like, I genuinely enjoy the show. So it's cool to see that there's not just like a specific audience.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little something for everybody, right? Kind
Yeah,
of a lot of different genres. Um,
yeah.
have have you noticed if there's more like followers or fans from a certain region of the world? This show's on Netflix, right? So there's a lot more eyes on it.
That's actually true. I don't know if just more people that reach out tell me that they're from Germany, but I have a lot of German followers and some Russian followers. But I think German people probably reach out to me the most, which is
Interesting.
interesting.
Well, what
Yeah.
is your background, if you don't mind me asking? The last name Gorski.
Yeah, Gorski's actually Polish. So I have a Polish background on my dad's side. He's like basically all Polish with some German in there, I think. But yeah.
Yeah. Do you wonder if maybe the last name they're like, hey, that's European,
Yeah,
and
probably, probably. It sounds very Polish, the Gorski. It's a very typical Polish name, but yeah, maybe.
okay, yeah. Oh, so you're from the East Coast, right?
Mm.
I don't know what site to believe.
I
There's
know.
one. There's like DC and Virginia.
Well, yeah, so I was born in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, and raised mostly in the Virginia, DC area. So a lot of the people that would live outside of DC, like in Clarendon, Virginia, and Arlington, Virginia, it's really typical for us to be like, oh, we're DC kids. Even though we were technically on the Virginia side, we spent so much time in DC proper that we just say DC. But I'm technically a military kid that moved around a bit, but I'm from Virginia.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of like the like New York and New Jersey. There's just some
Yeah.
borders there where like you're kind of
Yeah.
claiming one state or the other. Military. Where did you spend most of that time? So were you like army brat or
Yeah, I'm an army brat. My dad's actually a two-star general in the military, so he liked the military aspect of the show. Had a good laugh about some stuff. Um, but no, I spent most of my time outside the DC area.
and
Yeah.
your dad, does he have a favorite character? I mean, aside from maybe Lana.
I don't know if Lana's his favorite character. Um, he loves he loves Trunk a lot. My mom is, of course, in love with Nick, as is every other woman that seems to talk to me about the show. But no, they loved it all. You know.
You think maybe it's the scene with Nick and his mom, in that flashback, you think that's maybe what won America over?
Yeah, I bet it's a sweet, sweet scene. Oh, and he loved. What am I talking about? I completely. My dad loves Eugene's character and his
Okay.
relationship with his daughter in the show. I can't believe I didn't even initially say that. Yeah, that's his favorite.
What about Haggerty? Any thoughts on?
Who doesn't love Haggerty?
Yeah,
Or love
fair.
to hate? Like he's just ridiculous in the show. But yeah, Tommy's so talented and just so good at that character that he's hard not to love, even in his more ridiculous moments, you know?
Yeah, that's a wild character. You kind of just remember all the little things, whether it's dialogue or like the physicality, like the tongue waving, when he's going through his playlist.
I know. The tongue waving. I can't.
Wow,
Yeah,
do you
he
think
was so good. He's
it's
great,
pretty
yeah.
funny. Just a little bit of you that is out there. It sounds like you had a bit of a performance bug early on, right? Because like some
Yeah.
of your school, you did theater, but and you're still like involved with theater right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I am. I guess I did get the performance bug early on, but I moved around a bit and I was also a really shy kid. And so I don't really remember telling people that I wanted to be an actress. I think in Virginia, that was kind of like just an embarrassing, like just kind of a dream you didn't dare speak. And then when it came time to kind of start applying to college and stuff, I, uh, I was like, it's now or never for me. You know what I mean? I was like, especially, they Hollywood so values youth, and I was 18. I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna, who knows if I'll go once I leave college and blah blah blah. So although I had always loved it and I'd done theater here and there at school and stuff and regional theater, I didn't admittedly want to be an actress until I was 18 and moved out to LA, and I went to a theater conservatory program for 3 years. I really just like immersed myself in trying to learn the craft of it because I didn't want to like embark on auditions or do anything until I knew what I was doing, and until like I really I felt confident in my abilities. So theater is definitely where my heart is and where is my foundation for acting. But yeah, I think I always wanted it and I couldn't say it until I was 18. And it's hard. It's so hard, like even if you have the bug to really chase your dreams. But yeah, that's kind of how I found myself in LA and
What
doing.
was the inspiration? What was that moment that made you think, this is a possibility, even if you hadn't made that decision until a little bit later? Was there like
Yeah,
a performance that you saw that really made you feel, or was it like a performance of your own in school?
yeah. I think I don't know if there was like one singular performance, but I just found so much solace in movies growing up. Like I was, like I said, kind of shy, especially when I moved to DC. I was living in this really small town in Virginia where it was like 25 kids per grade, small. And I had moved from the suburbs of DC to there, and I kind of felt like a bit of an outsider. Went through some stuff, some personal stuff and family stuff. And there was a year where I didn't really have friends or anything. And I just found so much comfort in movies and TV shows and comedy. Like by the time I was 12, I had like owned every episode of Friends and Sex and the City and The Office. And I would just binge watch things for comfort. And I think I found so much comfort in that I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to be the thing that makes people feel good. And whether they're in a hospital or they're just like some lonely kid. And I think I just always wanted to be a part of it. So I don't know. And acting just made the most sense to me. I didn't really have the impetus to be a writer or a director. I'm not that like, it's hard for me to see large, like I'm very character driven, but acting just always made sense to me. And I was a highly emotional kid. And yeah, I think I don't know if there was one moment, but I just remember the push coming to shove, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go try this. And if I fail, like what is failing in the pursuit of, like, life is a joke. So what does it mean to fail? It's all like a game and we die and nothing matters. So I like,
It's just
yeah.
like that Aaliyah song, like if you don't succeed, you get up, you dust yourself off and try again, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you won't learn. It is trial and error. You have to fail sometimes, and it's funny because like I think about like my kids. I'm dad of five, and some of the
Of
older
five.
five, yeah, I have five kids.
That's amazing.
Well, shout out to my wife.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the older ones, they try to like, they think they're kind of smooth or sneaky or whatever. I'm like, I have to remind them, I was a teenage dad. Like I was still growing up while raising you. So like I
Yeah.
went through a lot of the same stuff. So you can't fool me, but
Yeah.
to my point, it's like you have to fail in order to be able to teach them life lessons, you know?
Yes. Yeah. No, it's so true. And like if yeah, it's like what is it they say, like the courage to fail. I remember when I was like I wasn't really seeing any results, and it was like after the pandemic, and I had done some movies and some like indie stuff, but I couldn't break in to like get a big audition. And I was like, how do I break in? Like what do I do? And I saw this like video or some TikTok of someone saying collect your rejections, and they were like just try to like don't even think about trying to receive a yes or an offer, just send out as much, like try to contact people, whether it's agents or managers or people you know, and to have as many people say no. And you'd be surprised with how many yeses you get. So I remember embarking on that and being like, rejections and failure kind of being synonymous in that sense. Like I was like, I'm just going to go search for failure, search for rejections, and see if something happens along the way. But like, you can't be afraid of that. Otherwise, it'll cripple you into not doing anything. And then, you know, yeah. I mean, you get
Yeah,
it.
I do. And, whatever it was, it seemed to work because in the last few years, you've been in a few things, at least a handful of things. And I don't know if it's that thing where it only became available for streaming by these certain years, but I think the earliest thing of yours that I watched was Battle Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was about 2021, I believe, was the release for that. Do you remember
It wasn't my first. I had done a horror movie with Eric Roberts. It's a film by Dante Yor called
616 Wilford
616.
Lane?
Wilford Lane. Yeah, that was my first one. And the producers were Howard Bird and Mark S. Allen, who I ended up doing a movie later with called Amy's Bucket List. But the I got Battlestar Wars because Dante was friends with a cinematographer who was doing his first film. I think it was his first film. His name was James, and uh, it was my second movie ever. But with Battlestar Wars, you didn't ask, but I feel like I have to give disclaimers. Like I feel, I mean, I wasn't that young, but I felt so young. I think I was like 22 or yeah, 22. And there's this production company called Asylum, and sorry if you can hear that the dumpster, whatever. But there's this production company called Asylum in LA that makes like C-list mockbuster movies. So they take like a concept that did really well, and then they like the movie's called Battle Star Wars, right? So it's a combination of Star Wars and Battle Star Galactica or whatever it's called. And they combine the two to kind of use this catch. So when people are searching one, they'll find, but they make these mockbusters for nothing, for like $100,000, and we shoot them in a week, and like you get like one take per scene, and the scenes, and I did a few of those. So I did Battle Star Wars, Airliner Sky Battle, and
Jungle
Jungle
Run?
Run. Yeah, Jungle Run. But
Might
we
have seen
shoot
that one
those
too.
things. What?
I might have seen that one too.
It's so, but the thing is like with those is they're ridiculous, and we are also self-aware when we make those. The battleship in Battle Star Wars was literally like made with Tupperware containers that they spray painted gray and like glued to the ceiling. So we'd be like doing a scene, and I'd be like, Dad, the asteroid's coming, and like, like a piece of Tupperware would fall off. So it's like we knew what we were making was like shit, but they do really well overseas, and they're fun. They're so fun to shoot just because no one's taking it seriously. And honestly, I really think that they should make a documentary about the making of Asylum films like Jungle Run and Battle Star Wars, because they're just so ridiculous. Like I had pink eye in both my eyes the whole time filming that because the makeup artist didn't clean her brushes. Like it was disaster after disaster. And yeah, I have such fond memories of those times, and for like learning how to behave on set and stuff, without like being in a professional environment. But it's not like, and I'm so grateful for those opportunities, but it's not like I'm proud of that work. And so
Yeah.
whenever people bring it up, I'm like, I know it's not art. I'm so self-aware, but it was a good time. Sorry, that
Yeah,
was a
no,
long.
I
Yeah.
think that's all that matters. Like, I don't think any of them did I ever feel like, oh man, this was a complete waste of time. I thought they were fun, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It,
Oh,
I think that's the reason why I kept on watching more, It's just because
yeah,
like I wasn't gonna go in depth with any of those, right? Like I wanted to know about you and Obliterated, but like some of these other things is kind of a treat for me.
yeah.
But to go back to 616 Wilford Lane, I was like, this is almost kind of a prequel to Obliterated.
I know.
Like the whole
Yeah,
Vegas thing, and I don't want to give anything away because I think that's worth a watch. That's kind of like paranormal activity, but
yeah.
I thought it was very spooky. It was really really creepy. I thought it was good.
Thank you. Thank you. I like
Yeah.
six. I love the horror genre. I did also a movie called The Puppetman that came out this last year as well, a few months before Obliterated came out. Um, that's on Shudder and was produced by AMC Plus and Shudder. And I'm really proud of that movie and that performance as well. Like I love the horror genre, and I really hope to do a lot more in that world because I love it so much. But yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to watch Puppetman, but I did watch the 616 Wilford Lane. What I this is kind of putting you on the spot, but do you have like a top five horror movies?
Oh, it's like that thing when people ask you and then you forget like all of your taste in movies. I think Hereditary. I love The
Hereditary, you say?
Shining. Yeah, Hereditary. The
So
Shining's like,
creepy.
yeah. Hereditary, The Shining.
You like the
I love,
psychological thrillers.
yeah, I love anything Ari Aster does. I love anything Monkey Paw Entertainment does. Like I loved like Jordan Peele, all of his stuff. And like I love how with the horror genre, it's getting like they're really using the genre to tell these like very important metaphors and reflections on society. And I feel like the genre is getting so heightened, and I just love it, and I find it so captivating. But yeah, what other? Why am I blanking on
Did you like any of those Final
film?
Destination ones?
Yeah, I really like Barbarian last year. Did you see that one?
I did not. I heard a lot of like film Twitter talking about it.
Yeah, it's really good. I know this is so crazy. I'm blanking because
Do
I
you
know
like
it's
any of
horror,
those
but
like the classic franchises like Friday the 13th, Halloween, maybe even the
I
newer
love,
version?
yeah, yeah, I love those. I love those. But I mean, like the standout ones for me, Hereditary was probably one that, like, I think if it wasn't in the horror genre, I think Toni Collette could have gotten an Oscar for that
It was
performance.
so good. Like
So,
everybody was so good.
yeah, yeah,
I swear to God, I think like 2, 3 days ago, I was just driving and, before we started recording, I mentioned how it was snowing out here and I had no music on and I was just driving and out of nowhere, I just went, and I was like, why did I do that? I
yeah,
just
yeah,
started to freak myself out, about Charlie and stuff. But
yeah,
that movie, it sticks with you. And I often say, I kind of reference like that moment where Toni Collette, I forget her character's name, but she's like in the room by herself and she looks to the corner and you could kind of see the grandmother and you're just like,
yeah.
what am I seeing? So yeah,
I just love the performance when she's at the table and the son is giving, and she just lets him have it because she has all of that grief still in her and anger at him, but she knows he's not actually, didn't technically do anything wrong. And I love what she said. She's like, "Wipe that fucking face off your face." Like I say that, I used to quote that all the time because I'm so sorry if you can hear this. It's so loud. Can you hear it? Oh,
it's faintly doesn't sound too
oh,
bad.
okay. Okay. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Um, yeah, you just were screaming in the Wilford Lane too. That was
Yeah.
so, well. So what do you remember about like filming and like the directions given for that movie
For Wilford Lane was so that was my very first movie. And
with Eric Roberts too? That's wild.
yeah,
The
yeah,
mayor. Yeah,
yeah, he's so funny.
there's a twist. You guys go check it out. I did not see that coming. I had some
Really?
questions. I had some questions, during the
Yeah.
movie, and at the end, I go, okay, that makes sense. But I was going along with everything until the very end. I was like, uh-huh, so I
Uh-huh.
kind of I was able to figure, yeah, kind of piece some things out. But
Yeah.
I thought it was well done.
Oh, good. You should watch, if you like horror, you should watch The Puppet Man.
Oh, well, I will. I
I,
told you that I would, but then when I stumbled upon these other ones, and I was kind of going in chronological order, so I saw Jungle Run, 616, um, Battle Star Wars, and Amy's Fucking List. So those
okay,
I watched.
cool. Yeah.
They're all fun.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun. There's, they are what they are. Yeah, 616, pretty much Dante was really good at just being like, I trust my actors, and just hired, we really just got to play. I mean, with all of those that I really did, even Obliterated to some extent. I mean, the direction was probably more specific for sure, but I find that a lot of the directors I've worked with have been, I don't want to say hands off because they know what they want, but they also really allow you to, or me, whoever, to show them what they want or who the character is. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
like they kind of allow you kind of space to give your own interpretation of the character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, in Amy's Fucking List, I thought if not mistaken, there's a sequence where Amy is looking through Facebook, and like 5 years ago, it was a picture of her from Battlestar Wars.
Oh
Do you
yeah.
re do you remember that?
I do remember that. I watched Amy's Bucket List in theater. There was a premiere here in LA. And I was like, I think they'd asked me for a photo, and maybe I sent them one that they didn't like, or maybe I forgot. I don't remember. But
It
they
wasn't
said
that
they
one.
just pulled like a Google image. I was like, oh God. And the stark difference, my hair is like this short in Battlestar Wars. And yeah, it's so
It
funny.
it really threw me off because, like, I had just watched Battlestar Wars, and I guess Amy's Bucket List was the 4th one in that order, so it went Battle, Jungle Run, 616, and then Amy. So that's the order I watched it. And I don't, it doesn't sound like they're in chronological order. But when Amy's looking at on her tablet, or I don't know if it was the photo, I kind of forget. But when it showed flashed that picture, I go, oh, that's funny. That's the same thing she wore in Battle
Yeah.
Star Wars. And then I just kind of went back and I froze. I go, oh, well, that's interesting. Well, I'm bringing that up.
Yeah. That is funny that they did that. That is so funny. Yeah.
All right, um, so Amy's Bucket List. Tell
Mhm.
me like how you came upon that, because that one I think is definitely a must watch. I
Oh.
think there's a lot of fun, and I think a lot of us, quite frankly, would love to react in the way Amy reacts to certain situations
Mhm.
after kind of getting the news that she is like terminally ill.
Yeah. Yeah, Amy's was I so actually all of the movies that I did were because, and speaks to so much of how like it works in the early days of your career in LA, but like were I got because of I booked the first one off of an audition, which was 616. And then I got Battlestar Wars because of a cinematographer of the director, a friend of the director of 616. And then I got Jungle Run because of a PA on uh Battlestar Wars was doing his first movie. And then I got the Puppetman because the director of that movie knew the producer from Shudder. And then I had to audition for all of these, but the opportunities came because of people I knew. And I got Amy's because of the two producers of 616. One of the producers wanted to direct his first film, and he liked my work in 616. So that was the only one I didn't audition for. That was just given to me. But I had worked with Mark on 616, and then his directorial debut was Amy's. Um, and him and Howard had told me they wrote the script, and they thought of me for it, and would I read it and do it? And I liked it and I agreed. And yeah, so it's great.
What was your favorite like I don't know if it's retaliation, but like anytime that Amy has to strike back. Um,
Yeah.
I'm kind of forgetting the coworker's name, but I couldn't tell if because he was also employee of the month, so I don't know if he was like another coworker or was he the boss.
Oh, he was like my manager, I think.
Okay, so the
Um,
manager was also
yeah,
employee of the month all this month.
I know. Yeah, that was the joke. Yeah. It was such a silly movie. Uh I honestly really liked beating up the car with the baseball bat. That was
Oh,
really
sure,
fun
yeah.
because they really got
So
like
Carrie
they
Underwood.
they just told me to just go for it, and that was fun. So yeah,
Yeah. So after what was the last one of those that you do before you booked Obliterated?
the Puppet Man, the
Oh,
Puppet
Puppet
Man.
Man. Okay, yeah, right, because that one just came out just right before. So how did you get Obliterated, and what do you kind of remember? Were they asking? Because from some of the other interviews I've watched with like some of the other cast members, they mentioned that you had to learn Russian as well.
Yes, yeah. I got I had like a commercial agent who whose assistant was like, she's not booking commercials, but she's a good actress. Uh, we should theatrically submit her. Because it's so hard to get represented in Hollywood. And like, I still didn't have an agent. But I had started working with my manager, Peter, at Sweeney Entertainment. And basically, I guess that through both of their efforts to try to get me this audition for this new Netflix show called Obliterated, they both tried and I ended up getting the audition. And I did my initial tape, and then I got a call back, and I think I got asked to read for Ava, and then I wasn't right for Ava. And then I did another tape for them with some notes, and then I had a testing. Then I went to test, which is like when it comes down to you and three other actors, and I guess they're all approved, but then you go to test for producers. I think I had to test for like Netflix, Sony, and the directors. And that's when you're like live reading with a casting director, a casting associate, and I did that, and that was and it was all new to me. Like I had never done that before because, like I said, the other stuff I got through knowing people, and they just had me do one audition, and I got the role. But this was the first time where there was like a process, like audition, call back, go to test, another test. I think there was another test. I think I went through three, and I kept getting notes every time, but it was kind of confusing because like there you keep moving along in the process, so you're like, okay, so something I'm doing must be right, but clearly, but at the same time, I haven't fully convinced them yet. And they're giving me notes on things to change. So it's like, it's really hard. It was so scary for me because I wanted to give them what they wanted. But at the same time, I was like, but I still have to remain true to what I've been doing because it's gotten me this far. So, and plus, sometimes you get conflicting notes. Like Sony would say one thing, and then the guys with the directors, John, Josh, and Hayden would say something else. So it was so scary because it was my first time. Um, and then I ended up finishing the test. And I think a few days later, I got the call from my manager. And then the guys, John, Josh, and Hayden, called me later that day to congratulate me on the role. And yeah, it was just like so life changing. And I mean, truly, it's so cheesy to say, but like truly life changing. And I just remember crying and calling my parents and like calling, like just being so happy because, like, I mean, just I lived in LA at that point, like 7 years of just
Mm.
doing these, God bless them, shitty mockbusters, and then 6 months, like things I was so grateful for, but like I couldn't pay my rent with that money. I couldn't pay off bills. Like I was working so many, whether I was like waitressing or assisting, or I was always hustling. So it was just so nice to have an acting job that like could pay for my life for a little bit. Not to mention just obviously the opportunity and all of that. So yeah, that was the audition process of like getting the role. And it's so cheesy, but I'll remember it for the rest of my life because it changed my life. So,
So your team submitted you for the show. So it wasn't even specifically for Lana at first, right? Because you said that they had you read as Ava.
no, I read as Lana, and then they had me read as Ava
Ah,
too. But I don't know why. I don't know if they were like, maybe I don't know why, but they had me read for Ava too. And then I obviously, Shelley is so Ava, so like it worked out. But actually, I remember in both auditions I had to speak Russian because the audition scene for Ava was when she's
right.
meeting uh in the first episode when she's talking to uh well, I don't want to give anything away, but
Right, right,
a
right. Yeah,
Russian.
I think at this point we can just the intro,
Okay.
you know.
Oh, okay,
But
gotcha.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So Ivan,
Ivan, yeah.
right, right,
I
right.
didn't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
say
yeah.
like my brother or anything like that, but
Yeah.
and then in mine, I didn't know because when you're auditioning, you don't really know. You're like, okay, she's Russian, but she was she's grown up in America. I didn't know how much Russian she'd actually have to speak in the show. But yeah, so that was really intimidating. But when you want a job, I was like, I can do it. I can learn the whole language. Like I'll do anything, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
So you booked that, and I would imagine, so emotional. You said you cried and called your parents, but all the hard work finally paid off. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know, how much did you know about the character and like the duality that you'd have to play?
I knew they wrote like a scene that didn't end up being in the show to play Anastasia. It was like a conversation between me and my brother that they kind of incorporated in one of the flashback scenes, but not, it was a different in the audition. But I knew that I was the villain of the, like that I was the twist. So that was like so juicy and exciting.
I mean, I think the first film of yours that we talked about, may have, kind of helped, in
Yeah.
preparation for that duality. So,
Yeah.
do you have, gosh, I don't know how to really ask this because because really you're Anastasia playing Lana, who has to play like a different type. Um, what did you have an answer for yourself, or were you told how does Anastasia know about this character of Lana Kirkwood? Because there's some stuff dropped in dialogue between Anastasia and Ivan, and she talks about like, the women that he's been with, and she does the voice. So is that
Yeah.
like, is Lana somebody that Ivan dated, or is that already a cover backstory that Anastasia had for herself?
Yeah, I think she was just like a combination of all the women that I had seen Ivan with, and like just like a cliche American girl, the type of girl you'd see in Vegas. I think she was like a mockery of that. And I don't think Anastasia based her on anyone. She just like quickly, she sees the outfit of this woman that Ivan had hooked up with, throws it on, and is just like, this is, I'm assuming this person. So yeah, I don't necessarily think it was based on that, but just the typical party girl.
And
Yeah.
so like when you're kind of going through certain scenes, are you like kind of reminded the headspace of Anastasia at the time? Because I'm thinking like it's a really good twist, right? And we get it at the end of episode 6. And when that twist happens, I'm like, okay, I have to mentally prepare myself and go back and rewatch and start watching. When does like Ava start becoming suspicious? Because you see glimpses of her facial reactions throughout some of the episodes. So like for example, when Lana is with Maya on the bus, like, do you
Mhm.
have to kind of remember, like, at this point, what has been revealed? Why doesn't she just take out Maya? Kind of things like that.
Yeah. Um, I think she's playing the long game with the team. And
Yeah.
that's probably why she didn't take out Maya. And she's just like, Anastasia is so smart. And I think she's thinking 3 steps ahead at all times. And when I look back, we actually filmed chronologically. So like we filmed, there was only some things that I had that were in episode 8 that I had to film the first 2 weeks of filming. Um, but it was like just scenes between Ivan and I. But it was helpful because when we'd be filming, if I gave away too much or if I did anything, one of the writers, I remember specifically Bob Dearden saying to me, like, it can't be too obvious. Like, you can't like grin when they fuck up or anything like that. You have to, she's really is in character. And but there are some moments where they wanted me to allude to it. And I think there's a moment that I didn't even that was like tonally captured so well when I'm in the sauna scene with Trunk, and he's talking about McKnight and how he says something like, "Oh, you know me better. You noticed something that my best friend has never noticed." So I say something like, "Really?" And I know my really is Anastasia saying really and not like picking up information, finding weak spots and Trunk's psyche and stuff like that, and not like coming from this innocent Lana place of curiosity and empathy for Trunk's character. So I think there's a lot of that when I rewatch it because I did always know, and it was about not playing into it. But it's so hard, or it was really hard because I didn't. I wanted to have the duality, but I also, in playing Lana, like I didn't know how big to go with like this airhead, and I was like, so whenever I wanted to play her more naturally, I was like, oh no, that's too Anastasia. So I try to put on the Lana thing again and not try to seem fake, like have her seem like a real enough person, but then also she is a performance of Anastasia. So it's like it was just fun and hard. And the directors really helped me like tonally figure it out and not go overboard. Yeah.
What do you remember about filming with Adam Hirschman, DJ Candy Corn in episode 6?
Um that it was just so fun. Adam is amazing. And what I remember is it was so much improv, and those were such long days because it was me, Shelly and Paola, and that was kind of like the only time that us girls like had that, except for Kimmy because she was hospitalized, but had that time together. um but then yeah, I mean, Adam, it was just he just kept throwing. I wish I had specific lines, but he improved so much and I was just reacting off of it as Lannis and being grossed out by him. But I just remember just following his lead and whatever, and just reacting to any ridiculous thing he said. And uh, yeah, yeah, it was just a fun day. And Adam's hilarious. So
You spend more time, or at least for us, we see more of you as Lana. Do you have a preference? Did you like playing one more than the other?
oh, I love playing Anastasia. Like that is like that is who I want to play forever. Like I love Lana's so fun, but I really think, and I've said this before, I think I got the role because of my ability to play Anastasia. Like not, I think there's many amazing women that could have played Lana. Um, and that was actually harder for me to tap into. And Anastasia just comes like it's just so much more juicy and I think so much more me. And I loved being like a badass and like evil. And I don't think she's evil. I think she's hurt and wounded. And I actually don't think she's evil at all. But I preferred playing the villain for sure.
We'll get to like the rooftop chase and fight, but the moment where like Ava is speaking to her and you almost kind of see if she's conflicted. Do you think you know about like kind of giving up the nuke before we find out that she had given it away, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there was a glimpse of her being conflicted about like wanting to do the right thing, or was she always like, no? I mean, because I know she says that that's why I don't have it. But do you just your opinion?
Yeah, I definitely think and I think that is why she doesn't like, she didn't want to stop herself or like have the love that she grew to have for the team cloud her decision, her ultimate revenge and anger. Um, but yeah, I definitely think there's that moment because I think Ava and Anastasia are actually really similar women. They're like opposite sides of the same coin. Um, and I think I saw that in her. And yeah, I don't think she's all evil. I think she kind of wanted to, maybe she wanted to be caught.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's something to that with criminals. You know, it's the thrill and you know of the chase, but it's yeah.
Yeah,
I think more often times than not, it's like they know they're gonna get caught. Um,
yeah,
the chasing the rooftop fight with Ava. Are you guys also kind of going through the choreography yourselves?
yeah.
And then also the stunt doubles. That way you guys are able to kind of cut in between.
Yeah. Well, what's so crazy is we had filmed in Albuquerque for 4 months, and then the last month for the fifth we went to Vegas to do all the exteriors and stuff. So it was really exciting because it's one of the last scenes of the show, and we're in Vegas, and it was actually the last thing we shot of the show was that fight sequence, like the very last scene that we shot in season one, and um when we got to Vegas, it was supposed to be that scene we were supposed to shoot the first week, but I had gotten COVID and I had a horrible case of COVID, like couldn't get out of bed for day, like it was miserable. And so they had to push the whole fight sequence back, but we had been training for it. And thankfully no one else got sick. But when we did go to finally shoot, I was still recovering from COVID and I had been on Paxlovid and I was like even on IVs at one point, like just doing everything to get better. And I was so physically weak. So I did do a lot of the choreography, like a lot of it you see, because Shelly and I went to classes and we learned it. And it very much became like a dance. And we learned it in pieces, like the top and then the middle of the staircase and the bottom. And a lot of it is us, except not like the jumping or the crashing into the glass table. But I had COVID. So it was so exhausting. And I just remember being so emotional and I actually tore my rotator cuff in that
Oh my.
scene. And it's not the scene. There's a part of the fight where like she pulls my arm and Anastasia's like but and like grabs it, but that's not where I tore it. I tore it like I was like running down the stairs and they were doing a wide, and like I'm chasing Ava and I slipped and I'm in those like I had leg warmers on because it was November in Vegas and it was super cold, and then I had the skin tight leather pants on, so I could barely move and I'm running down in heels, and I tripped and I grabbed the railing and my body fell, and then but my shoulder stayed and it just tore. It was so painful, so immediate tears. I was sobbing. It hurt so badly. I ended up having to go to ER, but we had one more take, and so they fixed my makeup and they were like, we just have to do one tiny bit more. um and they did a close up, but thankfully they cut it because I'm sure I just looked like I had been sobbing. I'm sure I looked horrible, but that fight scene, I feel like between recovering from COVID and then tearing my rotator cuff doing the scene, it was hell. And it was the last thing we shot. So it was like, yeah, I was falling apart by the end of filming.
Yeah, it almost sounds like it. I mean, but
Yeah,
everything still looked great, and, you were talking about the makeup, and I'm thinking it probably still would've worked out for, like, the scene, you know?
true.
Just, like, all the, sweating and stuff, and you're supposed to be hot on the rooftop, so,
Yeah,
uh if you've checked out any of the previous interviews, I've been asking a lot of the main cast members who have to reveal things, and also kind of working with Christine McHugh, the intimacy coordinator. If
yeah,
you're willing to share, can you talk about like filming the sauna scene?
yeah,
Lana and Trunk, but with Christine on set as well.
yeah. Um, so it was my first time ever being naked on camera, and not naked, topless on camera. And like the intimacy coordinators can sometimes get like a jokey reputation in Hollywood, or people being like, it's even more uncomfortable with them choreographing how to get, but I think they're so important. And it was so helpful having Christine, and like she was really helpful, and like boundaries, and like she would bring in my robe in between takes, and she just made me so comfortable with like the way she explained everything and how things were done, and it would be a close set. And um I was actually, because sometimes you can agree to things and they don't seem as scary, and so I was like, yeah, sure, like topless, whatever. And then and you say that in the moment because it's my first show and I'll do anything to book it, whatever. And then you can be in the moment and change your mind, and that's okay. And that's kind of why the intimacy coordinator is there, if anything's too much, or and you don't want to say it to the director, but you can say it to her, to kind of act as a mouthpiece for you. And I think it's just so important to like have that advocacy for yourself on set. If you were uncomfortable, thankfully I was not uncomfortable at all. I did not. I was so comfortable day of. And like I said, it was a close set. I felt super respected. And also in the context of the show, it's a joke, you know what I mean? Like the whole show, it's not like I was nervous, but I was like, it's not like I'm doing a sex scene, or like I'm doing like this very vulnerable, which actresses have done and I love and I respect. But for me personally, I was like, it's just a silly, like, get this guard in here. Or I think all of this are with Trunks, I'm sure, horribly uncomfortable penis, like torture scene, all of that. It's like, it's so ridiculous and far-fetched, the whole show, that I don't think any of us felt like exposed. It was just like in good humor. So it kind of felt like just like flashing a friend, if that makes sense. Like I was just like, oh, it's no big deal. But yeah, I gotta say it wasn't nearly as scary as one might think, or like as vulnerable. I was actually really comfortable, and I think the scene, and I'm proud of the scene. And I do think it serves the purpose in the show. Like it's not just gratuitous. I think all of us getting a little naked and weird so speaks to Vegas. And uh yeah. So it's like,
Uh, so in your role, you were asked to do a lot of different things. We talked about the fight scenes, learning Russian, nudity. What would you say? And I know that you had Christine, so like you were comfortable, but any of those kind of challenging, right? Like we're like the choreography, you were really sick, but what about the learning the Russian? You have to, kind of learn dialogue in a different language and sell it that it's authentic
yeah.
too.
Yeah. I think the Russian was definitely the hardest, um, and the most intimidating. Um, but we had not really a coach, but we had a translator on set whose name was Anastasia, ironically.
Cool.
Yeah, she was really great. And I wish I knew her last name off the top of my head so I could say it, because she was amazing. But she would phonetically sound it out for me, record it, and send it to me. So I would learn, and like you knew which words they were, so you knew the direct translation, but I would learn it phonetically and then learn what I was saying, obviously in English, so I could like, you know, emote appropriately. And that was definitely the most challenging, like remembering the lines, wanting to make sense, knowing that sometimes I was in scenes like with Costa Ronan, who's fluent in Russian, and I'm speaking Russian to him, and I was like, this is terrifying if I sound like an idiot. Um, but no, having her on set, and after each take I would be like so serious, and then they'd call cut and I would look to her and I'd be like, was that good? She was just like, yeah. So she'd either give me a thumbs up or like and if it was I would like
Yeah.
beg for another. I was like, I can't, but the guys are really respectful of like we wanted it to sound good and authentic, so I got the time I needed to learn lines. Except for there was one day on set where I thought an entire scene was in Russian because for some reason it was written in one of the scripts in Russian, but only the italicized words I actually had to speak in Russian. The rest I could speak in English, but I didn't know that. So I learned the whole scene in Russian. And then I showed up to set, and it was like one of the first few weeks of filming. And I was just so eager to please everyone. And I said that, and John, one of the creators and directors of the show, John Hurwitz, was like, no, like you only have the first three lines in Russian. And I was like, oh my God. I had to go learn the English on set.
Oh,
So yeah. Yeah.
oh, would it have changed the scene? You know, did you speak in Russian?
Um, would it have changed the scene? Yeah, it would have done it. It was just a flashback scene where I'm talking to Ivan and some of
Okay.
the other.
It was supposed to be like from the first episode. We just didn't see it yet.
Yes, yeah,
Got it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, okay. Interesting. As
yeah,
we get ready to wrap up, speaking
yeah,
with some of the others, you know, like with Terrence, for example, who actually in your guys' live, I watched the entire thing. It was so fun, you know,
yeah.
on Shelly's Instagram, and you guys kept them popping in and out. Well, yeah, because you fell over when Paul showed up, or Eugene showed up
Oh
without
yeah, yeah,
his shirt. So funny, but I liked learning that there were a lot of scenes where, you know, you one or the other didn't get to see because you guys weren't on set. So what was the
yeah.
scene that you didn't see until you watched Obliterated for the very first time and it was just kind of like, wow, this is, you know, whatever reaction you had.
Oh my gosh, there were so many that I'm not a part of because Lana was either on the bus still or whatever. There's so many, so I don't even know. But like in the first episode, the whole Haggerty doing the bomb thing with the Michael Bublé blasting, like that scene I thought was so funny. And just all of it. I mean, I can't think of anything specifically because I wasn't there for so much of it, but I was just so blown away that this like ridiculous thing we were making in Albuquerque, New Mexico actually turned out to be this awesome show. I was like, oh my God, we did it. Like, I was like, because you never know how your work's going to turn out. So I was just so blown away to see it all put together. And the score is so incredible. And yeah, I was just, I don't know, watching all of it, I was just so proud of everyone and of myself. And yeah, it was just,
Yeah, yeah. It's you know, it's still uh I think what last sometime in the past week, Mike over at Cobra Kai Wisdom shared that it's still top 10 globally, right? It's like number 8 or something.
yeah.
So people are definitely still watching it. Um, we mentioned is Puppet Man, right? The Puppet Man is on Shutter, AMC Plus.
Yes.
Do you have anything else that you're able to kind of promote that people could keep an eye out for?
Nothing coming up. Hope not yet. New Year strikes over. Hopefully something soon. But yeah, I'm in the Puppet Man on Shutter, as you said, which I'm really proud of, and I hope everyone watches. Uh, and you can catch me in two bit parts on Apple TV's Shrinking. um, and yeah, I guess I just hope for new opportunities in the new year.
If you welcome the interaction, where can people follow you?
Oh, on Instagram, it's just my name at Alyson Gorske. And that's kind of the only platform I'm actually active on. So